Hello. Regarding the election, regarding the use of FLOTUS's speech, this is one reason why I'm going for Hillary Clinton. Because I'm also putting faith in Barack Obama that both parties fail through time and not by accident. We've done with the exploit that we've done as evidence fabrication roles, as hurt indifference roles, to all with active exploitations of all ages of innocence, with active exploitations of poverty, under guises caring for it, with fact treatments roles in relationship to courts, one-way reports. So, for example, too, this is in relationship demonstrably the nature of these crimes in Connecticut and Connecticut's roles with interstate organized crime, from original terror, healthcare uses, terror database relationships, offensive database evidence stacking, and laws keeping people only let realized multi-front evidence fabrication rules for long-term fact mistreatments, forced internation sciences. Our modern nation is lost to this. Ancient revelations were criminally re-engineered. The actual or first original nature of internation relationships. It was a correlative relationship. It was an active correlation. We understood we were a species before criminal re-engineering of ancient internation sciences. They were loved because they were pure. A method came about, an organized crime method, to denature the way nations received internation science while still facilitating it through time, and then leveraging the means to sabotage human education by facilitating not only nations but the stewards of nations to being wrongdoers in relationship to natures of organized crime, that they then become criminal insidiousness natures, and that they then became tool self-defense natures of only let realized modern nature's breach, evil roles, and through the campuses, through database relationships and motivations with opinion natures, predatory, not just with opinions. See, the ones that emotionally, that are for the emotional narrative of wanting opinions one way, they're also they're claiming, blanket condemnation of the people being forsaken, blanket delusions, just because they're entertained by the sciences. They're entertained by the parties the only way they're realized by the sciences in relationship to jobs. So that's why that's one reason why we have to understand jobs in relationship to how they were forced with terror, how the landscape was denatured to force these reliances upon this perpetually. And that's why I say I'm not just saying because I like Native Americans because they look little and they're rebellious. I'm saying the truth is a sequence nature. And with the evidence fabrication methods, they denatured the Native American landscape. They remember this, but they remember it, and fact treatments everyone is making wrong. So someone has to be claimed as white. I don't want to be still for white, and I know people don't want to be classified black. This was terror laws before we were a nation. Now their sides fight to be defended. And when you try to have this conversation, hate, hurt, and difference natures try to jump in and say, oh, in other words, because they're wrong too. Because even if you're white, to say that, to point out how it was attacked and we shouldn't entertain it, you have to be doing it, understand what's still only teaching that it was white that did that. In other words, not teaching that it was foreign criminal agencies, because it wasn't them alone. They were only let realize its fraud sophistications. suit and tie, fraud, sophistication, and if they have them, then whatever they have, wigs. Everyone was extorted, and it's all natures in relationship to nations that were only ever realized as criminal enterprises. But they are not realizing how. What's to all areas first, making the engineering of indifferences with all kinds of different opinion natures sharing the same means to get away with lies. So we have this fraud election, both sides. And you see, and the offensive evidence fabrication methods in nature calling it rigged, knowing it's rigged, but not talking about the proofs of it. So that's proves that Donald Trump rigged it, so he can't go back and say, yeah, I rigged it, or say, hell, really. Both parties did this. No one understands it, so now everyone says, the smarts think they're, the smart think that's wisdom, and it's not. Knowing that everyone's does not understand that, and thinking that's sophistication, because correlation shows that all sides are wrong, and that the obligation to explain how this election is rigged, totally. But you can't explain it, blaming it about another party when the party's the same thing. No, not a candidate, because the candidates are both victims. They're both victims. There's no way Donald Trump's wife went online to look up Hillary Clinton's speech and say, I'll just write it exactly like that. Someone gave her that speech. God, it'd be worse. It was this criminal insidiousness demonstrated with that area at the time in relationship to related things with Donald Trump's crew, with New Britain, and with related evidence, confessions, a pattern of confessions related to court police since 2000. In 2000, every year I tried to report it since then. Every time I do, they attach me to fake conversations about my father that never were at all. They text me to fake conversations about 9/11, and they weren't at all. With people too, about that I only saw before them, they don't even know. So I don't even understand. No one responded in writing too. They forged names in relation. I was in the 9/11 context. My father was in there. He proved afterwards that day they filed that. They ruled that before a panel of judges in a federal court next to the Trade Center. They ruled that my father had filed late, but then he later proved that he had filed his things on time, and had them time stamped on time. He hand delivered them to New York City. And then that day when the court was in 9/11, but then we came home before the attack, and then we see it on the news. But since then, this is around that time when people started making confessions. Like first, it was about a campus. It was campus related, and then the person agreed. And Eric, forgot his last name, Burgess, which is different from a girl online who's been harassing me like that in relationship to some guys arrested for and further demonstrable roles with abuses against children. I don't know the girl. I think it's Sadie Burgess. I don't know if it was the timing of it is connected to people with roles with them. People who attach me on the sides. In other words, I've been trying to I left a trail of trying to report things since 2000 related to police. Recently, I'm still on a court date coming up for another time. I got arrested because a guy kept calling my house, and I called them back. And I don't know what they said because they won't show me the police report, and they told lies. And they told lies before this, but they told in this case. And it's related to men who threatened students, particular students to me, and online. and with a guy who was arrested for abuses of children type stuff related, who made confessions about roles with the police, evidence fabricating with Facebook, and with roles with the men with the roles with the rapes and the drugs, because they grew up on drugs. People and evidence fabrication roles, people associated with the policing of the campuses, and with the kids threatened. I mean, they have a method of this, of evidence fabrication through interbranch families. You'll have them just reaction natures about people they don't even know. And they get involved with systematic evidence fabrication, systematic witness fabrication. No one realizes, because they're not putting anything on writing. They won't show anything in writing in the court. So then they were having online threats, murder, rape, and they were trying to make it look like they had a personal relationship to me. People who had shared relationships with the drugs, and then sharing sexual partners in relationship to weird stuff with different religious groups too, in ways where they share partners and stuff like that too, ways tied to evidence fabrications and related confessions from strangers between, I lived in 5 different places in 4 different cities. And I went to 2 different schools between Hartford and New Britain, connected to this, the same drug dealing group with the police and the service people of the schools. And with kids that did it when I was growing up, they used that for evidence fabrication rules. They made people approach you and say things, and then you don't even know them, and then they don't know you, then they pretend they knew you and used to hang around with you. They made people, the same people that knew, everyone would say that we're not friends. We're never friends. You know what I mean? But they have these narratives, and then they won't put anything in writing because everything's a lie. So when the police say they have the right to lie, these are with time delays, with multi-front impositions, adaptive. If you start defending yourself against one of them, and they say, okay, you're right about that, then they're still doing the other ones. So they won't put anything in writing because they have the interbranch families and have health care with roles with natures of crime that we lost to in the American Revolution. I'm not even a lawyer. It's just truth. For example, so I went to the school to report recorded rape threats. The guy told a lie to an off-campus officer. They made all kinds. They arrested me a bunch of times. They even brought a campus officer with an East Hartford officer who was on the campus in New Britain, who got involved with their narratives. Also attaching me to fake conversations about my father after his roles with threats with that, and evidence fabrication with that. And with them attaching me to fake, pretending I was in hospitals I was never in, with doctors forging names, doctors with confessions about roles with evidence fabrications as threats, in the form of threats, roles with this court and with other courts related confessions. In other words, go to report recorded threats, but they attach you, they tell you to get lost. You don't say anything. Then they write whatever, but they don't tell you. They write lies. In other words, they tell you they admit their lies, but then they wrote different in a database. When I was in court for that, because I got arrested for going to report recorded things, and they told lies, they admitted they had falsified information on the police reports that weren't even real, and they had the different narratives with each changing police report. Then while this was happening, people from the court were messaging me rape threats with a Confederate flag theme and with terror acts, and in other words, and threatening the related families, all ages of innocence, posting fake legal cases. These are lie progressions caused by evidence fabrication methods that use kids selling the drugs with interbranch families through time, with juxtaposed known juxtapositions of known criminal enterprises, and with further ones demonstrable in relationship. For example, I'm not even a lawyer, in relationship to threats to covering up related mailbox crimes
names shifting stuff and threats related to the years I've been trying every year since 2000 to report Connecticut things tied to the, there was federal criminals who had a daughter in my grade and who had other connections to other kids in my grade with drug dealing and with evidence fabrications methods using them with that and with databases. In other words, where they don't involve you in the conversations, and in other words, they have the KKK narratives with this too, with the same group that where they have like the few people who have pigment in their skin in the town use this tool evidence fabrication nature, the tool terror natures. In other words, I first came into school, first time I ever saw him, this one person, only time I see him, because later that day I went to see him, because I was told he wanted to meet me at a golf park. And I went there, I called his name, like, Bayrock. I don't even know his name, you see, because when I went to go with the principal, they told me just leave, forget about it. He attacked me. You know what I'm saying? So I don't even know the narrative, I don't know his name. These are evidence fabrications way back then, tied to former director of the FBI, Defendant Luskin, in the related case. And with his roles with these federal criminals, with the drug dealing, not only on campus, in relationship to job sites, and that was used to facilitate known and further demonstrable methods and acts of pension thefts, pension cram downs. In 2006, after my father proved about the evidence sequence shifting, making his thing appear late in the 2000, in the 9/11 context, there was a 2006 case where former director of the FBI, Defendant Robert Luskin, had his co-defendants. One of them was a guy who had a daughter in my grade. Other guy was a guy who lived on the street of a kid who went to my school, but he lived in another town on his street with him, with the drug dealing. And I met him through my neighbor a couple times, and one time, a couple times, and then one through he was in my woodshop class, which is the same class they had that kid attack me when I was walking through. So they were playing games every year. They would have someone attack me from around the corner or something like that when I was growing up, in relationship to the people with the drugs and stuff like that, with their evidence fabrication roles. I would let them go, but now they're threatening wages because it's with the narratives that the police are trying to justify their roles, hiding the online rape threats and them shifting names. In other words, Weathersfield's only got one guy named McGee, but they have one guy who also pretended he was a doctor, and that was a different guy, evidence fabrication. But he also put me on fake police reports, and with roles with EMS, blocking me, threatening me not to make a police report about related untimely death confessions and related police corruption with my neighbor's kids through time confessions up to the time. That's why I had been yelling at my mother to call the police. My father had died 3 months before this in relationship to. So I don't know what happened. There was reports of it. In other words, I didn't see him the night or some 2 nights before, and there was a guy in his thing. In other words, no one responded to me, but they just keep threatening. The court threatened rape. The guy, in other words, ERICKNERR on Facebook. And he admitted to being in conversations with the people in the court in relationship to the narratives with the police reports that were admitted falsified. And they told me they were going to give me a dismissal for that. But then they didn't. And then this got connected to the guy who could call my house in relationship to the group too, threatening with other rape threats. In other words, the drug people from my town with the police and with the interbranch families, intercity through time, they were used for life progressions that are, for some reason, they need to pretend they have their friends pretend they knew me from the past. In other words, my neighbor had friends in my grade that I don't know. I never hung around with them. I know them from just only confessions. They with a sequence of people connected confessions in relationship to my reporting on this too through school, through health class, because of its involvements with KKK, police corruption confessions, military corruption confessions. Now too, we're also tied to MPO Floyd, and there's intercity connected confessions from the people make the confessions, but they don't understand the connections from the other people, and they're strangers. In other words, Enzo Fienzo made confessions about his roles with evidence fabrication with police, with drugs, and with abuses of women, and with politics, and with its connections to politicians in my town, with Facebook policing roles, with evidence fabrication stuff tied to the kids they've been threatening to rape and abusing right through their schools. Then the principal of one of the related schools was arrested for this. And see, I need to I have something on writing for this, because I was arrested for calling back. I don't know if it's the same guy, but I'm not supposed to talk about it. But I don't know who it is anyway, so I can't talk about it. So I need to know the name of who they used on that evidence fabrication, because they threw me in jail with it. They put me on $100,000 bond, threw me in jail with a serial killer connected to what I had already been trying to tell about with the court police and in the area connected to that same building online before that. In other words, they're hiding. They have in other words, they hid. They admitted to the evidence, the threats, the court connected threats of ERICKNER, and they said I got dismissal because of that, because of the falsified evidences and whatever they made up. I don't even know. I went to CCSU and simply asked to see a teacher. The guy wouldn't let me leave. Then he started talking. Then he kept asking me questions. I said, "Well, that's it. I just wanted to see her. I'll go come back. It's the only way I want you to wait here, though." In other words, I already called someone. Then he went in from. Then he and what do you call it? Offered that then he said that the teacher had changed her name. Now I didn't say anything, but she lives in my town, and so there's other people from my town that were associated with this English department through time with the drugs too, with the police. And see, this is being used in relationship to the court police. No, because in court too, there were confessions that to me and my family. Before they put me in jail after further rape threats, they want me to put up with this through time, because this court has social connections with known rapists too, and they with drugs and stuff like that, and they have narratives about how it's because they have some cancer patients and stuff like that who need drugs on the street, and that's how they deal with it. But in other words, they have systematic evidence fabrication, sick abuses of their own kids. You know what I'm saying? And school bullying against the kids that they're threatening, the rape, not to mention, because it's connected to the online confessions about relationships to the court. So God knows what they even put on writing. They don't let you see. They don't follow the rules anywhere when police tell them not to. When police forms tell them not to. I don't even know the name of the court investigator, but there was online confessions about that. And then they put said it was a nollie. It was a dismissal, they said. No, it has to be dismissal, because that's what they told me. And that's what they told my family. And that's what, in other words, they admitted to falsified information on those police reports, which is demonstrable. They said I was in the hospital, I was never in. These guys from my town, psychologists who rose with the drug dealing kids group through time, who don't even know me, they just know they have kids in my grade tied to these federal criminals, known pension thieves, and other federal criminals tied to them directly as co-defendants of the former FBI and related cases too. They attached me to fake conversations about them. So this election's rigged. This election's rigged.